Power pack batting performance from Delhi, taking them to 215 for 5 at the end of their 20 overs. There was a point when it looked like it could have gone to 240. There was a point when it looked like Kolkata could restrict them to 190. At the end, probably somewhere in between 215 for 5, not completely beyond the realms of possibility, but runs on the board nonetheless. David Warner, Prithvi Shaw, and at the end, cameos from Shardul Thakur and Akshar Patel, really accentuating that effort, the run feast at the Brabant. Here on Cricbuzz Live, we'll try and make some sense of it. I'm in the company of Lisa Sthalekar and Michael Vaughan. Michael, you were very close to your 160 in 14 overs, as you said, but they just decided to have a little fun at the end. But I highballed, I wasn't even close.
No, I mean it's such a good pitch that I think 200 was probably par. They've just got beyond that because of that last couple of overs of striking. A really good batting display. Just started to lose a bit of momentum around the 15, 16 over mark, 17 over, and then all of a sudden they got that fantastic finish. I spoke pre-match about the power hitters now in the high quality T20 teams. Well, they all have 6 or 7. We saw the Lord Thakur just come to the party and Akshar Patel towards the end. It's great striking. I don't think it was great bowling. I don't think the execution of bowling at the death was anywhere near the standards of what Pat Cummins and Umesh Yadav would have expected from themselves. But I'm quite happy because the team has won the toss, bowled on an absolute road, and they've been hit for 215. I'm quite happy to see that.
Yeah, and the reason why Michael says it, in case you missed our earlier shows, is there's no harm in trying to think of an alternative. There's no harm in trying in an afternoon game, if dew is not a factor, to think of putting runs on the board, scoreboard pressure, get the spinners in the second innings. That's what he said earlier, and that's the reason why he's saying that. Lisa, at the end, all that batting effort, they obviously knew who could play what role. A specialist batsman in Sarfaraz Khan, who's a dasher himself, didn't even get out there.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what Sarfaraz Khan needs to do. I mean, the fact that he's been so prolific in the Ranji Trophy, 275 and 165, you would think that, okay, this kid's got full of confidence. He's still only 24 years of age and has been in the IPL now for such a long period of time. I know, the back end of last IPL, he got 2 ducks. He only played the 2 games in the second part. But I thought going to Delhi, he might have a chance. Ricky Ponting just takes him under his wings and gives him an opportunity. But they were smart and clever because they tried Rovman Pal last game against spin. He was a fish out of water, I think, 3 off 10. So they kind of dropped him down the order. In the end, it still didn't necessarily work. And the fact also that Warner didn't really get to face that many deliveries once Rishabh Pant was out meant that his innings stalled and he went. So, I was surprised in the end that they got to that many runs. But again, Akshar Patel and Shardul Thakur did exactly what they did against Mumbai Indians in the first game.
Yeah, it was a strange one, Michael, because if you think about it, yes, Akshar and Shardul played that end of the innings role. But I almost expected to see Sarfaraz walk out instead of Lalit Yadav. While he's a great player, he's a great nerdler sometimes, he's not quite the explosion that Sarfaraz could be. At the end, they'll say 215, never mind. Let us do it the way we want to do it.
Yeah, it's the IPL and nothing's predictable. And I guess that's why it's such a high quality tournament that we're talking about. A batter that's not been out there, a striker in Sarfaraz Khan, but they've still got 215. So they'll be delighted with the 215, particularly those last 2 overs where, they were just stumbling a little bit. And then that 19th over really got them to that real prominent score. I just look at bowling. When you're on a pitch like this, it's not easy, but, it's for me when you see the real quality and high class, and you just look at Sunil Narine, 4 overs, 12 dots, 2 for 21. That is outstanding. That really is of the highest order in T20. A 4 over section, getting 2 key wickets, but to only have gone for 5.25 per over on that kind of wicket is incredible. I also look at Andre Russell and see that just 2 overs from Andre Russell. Think, well, they've missed a trick there because Andre Russell does bowl quite nicely at the end. He has got good variations. And on this kind of surface, which is so pure, you just have to have so many different deliveries. You have to have the ability to watch the batter and at that last second release the ball to where the batter doesn't expect the ball to be. And someone like Andre Russell, I think, can deliver that. So surprised that he didn't bowl his 4 overs. Surprised with Cummins and Yadav not quite getting it right, but in awe of Sunil Narine for delivering 4 overs of just high class, real quality.
Yeah, it's probably a learning experience, Lisa, for Kolkata as they go forward in the tournament, no matter what happens with this particular game. Because maybe, I mean, I'm trying to think, was it a fitness issue? Are they trying to protect Russell from 4 overs? They had to bowl his 2 earlier. He picked up that wicket for them. So there could have been reasons for it. But at the end, they'll really need to rethink because Rafiq Salam, specialist bowler like Sarfraz, bowled just 1 out.
Yeah, and even Salam bowling that first over, I felt like Kolkata missed a trick because Pat Cummins, I know, has taken Dave Warner out in IPL games bowling at the front end. So he allowed them, with Salam going for 10, Umesh out of the first over was 10, so they were none for 20 off 2. I know it was Prithvi Shaw that was the one that was going hard, but even those little things can make such a big difference. And that's the IPL. Like, it could literally be a couple of deliveries and just getting the timing right for all of your bowlers. I agree with Vaughnie in the sense that Andre Russell should have probably come in and bowled 1 at the death. But they need to figure out their death bowlers. And maybe this kind of bodes well to our conversation pre-match about Tim Southey potentially coming in and Sheldon Jackson taking the wicket-keeping spot.
Yeah, because one thing's for sure. I mean, Sheldon Jackson is an impeccable keeper. Nothing to take away from Sam Billings, great guy, but we've seen him drop a catch in the previous game. Fairly routine catch of Akshar Patel in this game. It ended up costing about 20 runs. So, I mean, there is that option. But probably, trying to jiggle the bowlers might be the answer, Michael, more than anything else.
Yeah, and I think Tim Southey was sat in the dugout probably realising his stock will have risen because he's not had to bowl on this kind of surface. Well, it's not easy. It really isn't to run up and bowl on this kind of wicket with a fast outfield. It's not a massive boundary for these players. And I guess you miss your lines, your length, or you get your tactical awareness not quite right, you're going to disappear into the stands. So it's not easy, but I'm with Lisa. I think Tim Southey, the one thing that KKR, for me, really lack is a real high-quality death bowler. And you would probably say that Tim Southey, over the last few years, has been, up there in terms of what they've got, have been the best at delivering that kind of expertise. So Tim Southey's stock has risen over the last 20 years.
Yeah, and remember, Umesh Yadav has been good early on for them. In the earlier games, he was a late buy, so probably something that they need to look hard at. But the other difference, the stark difference, when you talk about a 216 run chase, Lisa, is if you look at the top 3 as things stand right now. There are some teams in the tournament, the likes of Rajasthan, who are packed with a Butler and a Samson and Jaiswal up front. Delhi have the top 3 packed in there. But Prithvi Shaw, David Warner, Rishabh Pant. But when you switch over to see Kolkata's lineup, it doesn't inspire confidence in 60 in the power play, does it?
No, it doesn't. And there's question marks about Venkatesh Iyer as well because he went off the field. We've spoken about Ajinkya Rahane, his strike rate. Even ShreyasIyer, a young skipper coming in, Nitish Rana hasn't fired. So those top 4, boy, they need to step up. And maybe this is your time, Gautam. This is your time where you're allowed Sunil Narine to open the batting when they're chasing this type of total. I'll allow it this once.
All right. Well, he doesn't waste balls. That's the only reason. I mean, I get accused at times of people ask me, "Are you his agent?" I said, "No, I'm just suggesting it as not even necessarily a Kolkata fan or someone who's in that city at the moment, but I've just seen him play so often in the Caribbean. I've seen it happen in the Big Bash where it all began for him in that Melbourne derby, and it's just so effective. And this year, Michael, in the Bangladesh Premier League, he's got a 50 of about 14 deliveries.
Yeah, go for it. I'm actually with you on this kind of wicket. If you're ever going to try, he's been obviously tried and tested before, but if you're ever going to change your formation, it is possibly because of an injury. Sunil Narine put him up to the top. He's full of confidence. He just got 2 for 21. the kind of free spirit that they're going to require to chase down this kind of target, they will have to make maximum use of the power play. They can't come out of the power play with 40. I think they will have to get the 55, 60. So if not a little bit more. So I think it's Gautam, I think you may get your wish.
Unfortunately, as I'm just taking a quick glance towards what's happening as the players walk out, it is a bruised and battered Venkatesh Iyer who's recovered from that clash with the boundary hoarding, and he's coming out to bat with Ajinkya Rahane. So whether or not they're thinking pad up, Dre Russ pad up, because one thing's for sure, Lisa, they don't want Dre Russ to come in when the required rate is 16 and over. They would like him to come at some time to just keep that momentum going, which they'd like to somehow get now.
Yeah, it's going to be actually fascinating, Baz McCullum and the coaching staff, because this is where, as coaches, your value goes up, because you can start strategically moving the pawns as the required run rate goes, or the matchups, knowing when certain bowlers are going to bowl. So we saw Delhi do the same thing in the first innings. Now it's Kolkata's time to try and get all of those matchups correct.
Unfortunately, Venkatesh Iyer wasn't hit on the head. Otherwise, I'm just trying to check the rules. Can Baz McCullum come in as a concussion sub, Michael?
Well, it's going to require Ajinkya Rahane to take a little bit of Baz McCullum's approach in the first 6. I'm interested to see how Ajinkya plays here, because he really does have to get going quite quickly. He can't chew up too many balls. You can't allow that rate to get to around 14, 16 by the mid stage. Yes, we've seen some incredible chases over the last few nights, but it can't keep happening. You've got to get ahead of the rate. You've got to use these first 6, and it can't be of the kind of downfall of 3 or 4 wickets. They've got to somehow get to 60, 65 for one after the first
just
6.
a quick.
And it's not the perfect start.
We were going to get out of the show right now, but what used to be a Combox curse is now a Cricbuzz live curse, per se. We continue talking, and a wicket falls. Not sure if they've gone for a review or not. They have gone for a review. It's been given out, caught behind. Obviously, Rishabh Pant heard something. The Fizz heard something. And Ajinkya Rahane seems confident, because I wonder if that's just a batsman thinking, let me just try. Can I get out of jail? So we'll just keep the conversation going for a second while that review happens, Lisa. The bowling for Delhi, whether or not they're defending 180 or 215. The Fizz, you've got Shardul Thakur buoyed by that batting, Akshar Patel to provide a bit of variety, Kuldeep Yadav, 2 spinners, and Khalil, who has replaced Nokia.
Yeah, it's a good side, and given the fact that they've got 215 on the board, it gives them a lot more confidence, doesn't it? And it does allow Rishabh Pant to be a little bit more lenient with the bowlers as well. Like, if they get hits, all right, we've got a decent amount of runs on the total, but we know that this is a good deck, and if they can pick up early wickets, if this one is edged, then it might. No, it's not edged. No, pad. Yep, I'm a little bit on delay here in Australia. It takes a bit of time for it all to kind of fizz down to me.
Well, there you go. That's a get out of jail it's a good review from Ajinkya Rahane. Now, if he can only translate the goodness of that review into acceleration in batting, we should be in for a treat. So I guess what we'll do is one quick prediction, since none of us got to even close to the 215, even with a 10-run allowance. We've got a power play prediction. Lisa, you want to go first on this one? KKR
Sure.
power play 6 overs. It's got to be high.
52.
52.
Ooh. I'm going to go 58.
This time I'm going to lowball. Because I know they're going to try hard, but I think they're still going to want to set a platform with 47. I'm going to go with 47 in the power play. May not be the ideal result for them, but if it can be 47 without loss, and then everyone picks up from there, let's see what happens. But do we have him hang on for a second, because he's gone again?
There's another.
Hang on, it's coming. Hang on, replay's coming for me. Oh,
yeah, you just wait there, Lisa. We'll let you know what goes on.
Well, they've reviewed it again. Sarfaraz Khan makes his first contribution to the game. He walks over to Rahane and says, "What are you doing?" They're all smiling, and I'm sure.
Big inside edge. No.
Oh boy, we can keep this conversation going.
It's a terrible decision.
Oh dear.
It's a massive inside edge. Given our LBW, it's the biggest inside edge.
How is the umpire going, by the way?
Yeah. Name the umpire.
He's
Name
doing
the
well. I
umpire.
think he
All
wants
right,
to
I
have a
think
breather.
before we have more drama here, he looks petrified as the umpire right now. Where have I come? What am I doing here? Get me out of here. Concussion sub for the umpire.
Third time lucky.
All
Get the
right.
next one right.
All right. There's going to be one thing's for sure. It promises to be plenty of action. We've got our predictions in. We've got almost everything in. We've had 2 wickets, both overturned, and it promises to be lots of excitement. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Lisa. And we're going to be back in Cricbuzz Combox. Lots is promising to happen in the first 10 overs. That's all we have.